It's shiny. It's awesome. It's cool. It's a piece of hardware that I can give for my baby boy.
Porque eu não comi nada antes.
You know, absolutely. Hold on, I'm talking, brother. 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 Hold on, I'm talking, brother.
Hello and welcome back to Hold On, I'm Talking, Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood and you are listening to our UFC on ABC3 review. Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. Tom Ballum. What a banging card.
Yeah, good stuff, Joe. Good stuff. Certainly delivered. I think it was the best it could have been, really. Couldn't have asked for more. Maybe one slight request might have been a bit more of that main event. What do you think?
Oh, that main event was great until it ended. I felt like we were on the precipice of a potential classic. I don't know how you felt about it. I mean, there was, even from the entrances where these two guys are coming out with their Mexican flags, Mexican music, and for some reason the fight wasn't in California or Texas or anything like that. It's just like, that was a strange decision.
Yeah, what's going on there, Joe? I was thinking exactly the same thing. I mean, that would draw so many fans out. You can imagine the atmosphere, whereas it didn't feel quite so organic being on Long Island, not exactly the home of the Hispanic community in America.
No, it's not. I mean, it did feel like for a moment with the music coming out that it was like, I felt like I was watching like a CMLL show in like Arena, Mexico, and then you do remember that like most of the crowd wasn't popping in the way that it could have done. And yeah, that could have been a great moment. Could you imagine if the crowd was like fully into that music?
Yeah, the mariachi band playing.
Oh,
tacos for all.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It would have been great.
What was it? So what happened there then was Rodriguez emerged victorious over Ortega. So number 3 beats number 2 in the division.
Yeah.
For those who haven't caught it.
Yeah.
Just back to that walk-in though. Ortega, he was born in the States, whereas Yair Rodriguez is fully 100% indisputably Mexican. I kind of thought it was interesting that Ortega was kind of like, he kind of went toe to toe with him on the Mexicanness,
Yes.
There wasn't some cowboy American song that he blended in. There wasn't any double flag or any of that.
No, yeah, he seems to have embraced this a lot more. Ortega's kind of an interesting guy in terms of what he's embraced culturally. Like before, I think it was before the zombie fight, when he went into the Holloway one. And his fights before, he embraced his LA-ness, like where he was in LA. T-City. And now he's embracing his Mexican heritage, which is cool. Like, I like that. I like that sort of flavor that comes with that. I like the guys who embrace their cultures.
I mean,
and
he embraced it quite inspirational, Joe. Is that fair to say?
I would say so.
Or do you have some quotes of his listed?
No. Why? Do you have something salacious there?
I mean, the guy's a machine. I feel like Ortega, we're going to get into the fight in a minute, listeners, but first we go into this full cultural context for the fight. I mean, Ortega to me, all right, and we kind of referred to this a little bit in the preview. To me, when I listen to that man speak, I always feel like he's speaking for the camera.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like all the time. Like he's really conscious of like, yeah, this sounds good, or they're going to lap this up. Even when he's like kissing his girlfriend or whatever. Did you see some of the like preview stuff? And it's him just like making out with my love on the beach, and he's just like one eye's like on the court, like on the camera. It's like I don't know. I just that's the thing that I can't get over. But good, at least one of us buys into it, Joe. I'm glad he's got a fan in.
Well, I tend to miss most of like the social media stuff and that sort of things going out there. I don't really try to pay too much attention to it. But when I do hear Ortega speak, I do sometimes think this isn't the real you. Like if the real you came out, I think it would turn a lot more people off. And I think also
straight thugging.
Yeah, I think so. And then also I think some people might embrace him more because of that. Like, and I would rather see the real him. Can you imagine like what that would sound like? I mean, yeah, you hear it occasionally. I mean, did you hear him when he was talking about fighting Covington? Like moving up to welterweight to fight Covington, bro. That wasn't the Brian Ortega we normally hear. It was like, I'll see you on the street corner, Brian Ortega. It was a different man. Yeah. Anyway, let's get into the fight itself. Brian Ortega then embraced his Mexicanness in his fighting style of like, I'll just take it on the chin, pal, and keep walking forward. What we learned from this fight, from what there was of it, was that Yair Rodriguez is better on the feet than Brian Ortega. I think that's fair to say, don't you think, Tom?
No argument from me there, Joe.
That Brian Ortega cannot take people down continually. We've seen that. And when it did get on the ground, Yair was able to somewhat defend it a little bit.
Oh, that's where I can jump in and contest it. I don't think we saw enough there. I mean, ultimately, the result is that Yair caused Brian Ortega to dislocate his shoulder. Vicious bottom game. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Like if Ortega wasn't defending, so this happened when Ortega was kind of pulling his arm out of the trap, when Ortega was on top there at the end. Rodriguez had thrown up the legs. As Ortega reacted, his shoulder came out. I mean, that happened because of what Rodriguez did. He subbed him, Joe. He finished him.
A technical sub, is that what you're going to give it?
I think so. I mean, if your boy Chito Vera, if he finished Sean O'Malley and deserves credit for that, then Yair Rodriguez 100% deserves credit for this finish here.
No, fair enough. Within the context of this fight, I would say yes. I think outside of the fight, what we found out subsequently is that I think Brian Ortega is not going to have a long career. Did you hear that he's had surgery twice on that shoulder and it's popping out that easily? Yeah. That's not... I mean, he doesn't fight much anyway. I think...
Well, that's because he's in recovery, Joe. Because he gets pasted every time.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, even before that, though, I mean, he wasn't fighting a huge amount before he fought Holloway. Once a year, twice a year. Like, it wasn't huge output from him. And now this happens. I think it's... I don't know. I think it doesn't spell for a long career, does it?
I think you're right there, Joe. But then, you just referenced what was done after he fought Holloway. Now, Rodriguez, he had some scar tissue open up just from that light exchange they did have there on the feet. He had a noticeable scar coming into the fight or in that area of his cheekbone. I think this is the price you pay if you fight Max Holloway or Volkanovski. All these fellas will be having short careers if they stay in that division.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess that's why maybe some guys are hoping that Max and Volk move up and move away from the title picture. We'll get to the title picture in a moment. Let's just go back into the fight itself. It was simmering. It was simmering nicely. And I think Brian Ortega did the correct thing of trying to get that body lock to take him down. I'm surprised he didn't try and pull guard sooner. And I did make a note in my notes book of I'm surprised Ortega isn't going for leg entanglements, and then he did start going to go for that, of trying to attack those legs, going for those heel hooks, maybe going for a knee bar sort of submission. But it was quite frustrating to watch Ortega at times there, just hold on to his body lock and then not progress it on further. Well,
Joe, of course, he just really does have this glaring flaw in his game, or he's got this weakness on the feet. But he does carry a huge threat, both off his back and, of course, if he can get top control on the mat. But to get into those kind of situations, you have to be able to implement some sort of grappling game. That is the other side to it. Some people refer to it as the mid-game, between the two stages of the fight. At least Ortega was closing Rodriguez off against the fence and not leaving him much space to operate in. So at least he did create some clinch exchanges. And then, of course, he's just got to get those scrambles going. Anything. Leg entanglements, trips, anything like that, catching the kick. And the result was eventually he did get Rodriguez down. Unfortunately, that is what led to the end of the fight for Ortega. So it kind of backfired, but I think that is the nature of the man. If your way to get someone down is pulling guard or that standing guillotine that he's kind of landed a few times, R.I.P. Cub Swanson, then that's just the package. I don't think that wrestling game's going to come in. So the question I have, Joe, I mean, I know you probably want to get into this fight a little bit more, but the thing that really screams out to me about this, we've had number 2 fight number 3, and Rodriguez now, he's moved up in the rankings. He's taken Ortega's spot. Do you want to see it again, Joe?
Yeah, I do. I do really want to see this fight again.
I don't.
No?
No.
Oh, you didn't feel that simmer?
No, I did, Joe. I did. And these guys, if they do have a few more years in their careers, which I think they do, hopefully that
definitely Yair.
Well,
definitely Yair does, yeah.
I mean, Brian should make 2-3 more years, Joe. You saying he's done?
I just don't No, man. Like, if your shoulder's popping out like that, that's not enough force for it. And it's like you've had surgery on it twice. It's worrying. That's a very worrying trend, I think.
So you're saying, like, well, while he's got a couple of months left, just get him in there?
No, man. I think he needs to fully recover and then maybe work on a new approach for some things. I don't know. Like, maybe work towards just even having, like, one very strong takedown approach. Like, even if it's just a single leg or something, working towards, maybe working off that body lock thing. You know, trying to get to sort of the back exchange. It's hard though with those guys.
I think he's drilling that every day in training. But like you say, it is hard.
You say that though.
I don't think it takes an MMA expert to look at Ortega and say, like, look, this guy's good on the mat. All right, how do we get the other guy there? What are we going to do? Well, he can't wrestle that effectively. He doesn't have that base. He doesn't really have that build of a wrestler either. So what are you going to do? Yeah, you're going to create those situations that we referred to, but it isn't so easy. Like, because at the same time in the training camp of Rodriguez, they're saying, like, look, you keep the distance. If you can escape from clinches, if you can avoid getting taken down, then you're going to beat Brian Ortega. I don't know how much further Ortega can grow in that area.
I still don't understand why you don't want to see this fight go.
Let me explain that to you right now, Joe.
Go on.
I think this is a great fight to make. Right?
Yeah.
I just don't think there's enough in this to make it right now. Why hold up the division like that? You've got 2 versus 3, and you've got killers, prospective killers, coming through.
Yeah.
All right. Now I feel like this happens when you have dominant champs, and especially if they've got a number 2 who's also dusting off anyone else who comes through, like Max Holloway is.
Yeah.
Then it's really hard to get any churn in the division, you know, new blood, new people getting on streaks. The thing is, we do have guys like that. We've got Arnold Allen and Josh Emmett who have semi-claims. I think you would agree, Joe, if one of those guys, I'm talking Arnold Allen, ranked number 6 right now, on a long streak, Josh Emmett, fresh off his win over Calvin Kattar, he's ranked 4 right now. If one of those guys can go and beat Brian Ortega, beat Yair Rodriguez, it makes clear sense for them to fight for the belt.
I actually think, depending on what Volkanovski does or how long he's going to be out for, he's got this hand surgery that he's going to go for, it's going to be 3 months, whatever else. I actually am not against an interim title shot.
Well,
Yair Rodriguez, Josh Emmett, interim title shot. That would be the fight to make.
That is the word on the street, yeah. Now, the interesting thing there is if you were to make Rodriguez versus Emmett, I think that's what makes sense. I sign off right on that right now, Dana. You can go ahead and make it. Don't have to worry about me anymore. But the interesting thing that creates is we did have another announcement here on this card talking about lightweight, which is where Volkanovski would be going up to. Don't want to break that news here to the fans right now, but they've just made a matchup at lightweight for an interim belt. That means Volkanovski doesn't have a belt up there to fight for. So what's going on in these 2 divisions?
I think... I mean, it depends on how long Volkanovski's out for, to be honest.
Well, it's going to need to be a long time, Joe, because basically they've got matchups being made in both divisions that could... I
honestly think 4 months is enough for me. I'm not against interim titles for the most part. Like, sometimes there was an egregious period where they were doing them, and this is when they were selling the company and they need to get title
Khan
shots
versus Derek Lewis.
Well, that's an egregious one. But, like, I'm also not against it in the sense of, like, fighters get more money. They get pay-per-view points if you're an interim champion. And, you know, Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett, interim title shot or not, that's a banging fight. Yeah. Give it to me.
Yeah, I'm in. I mean, I think with the circumstances in the division, we all think Volkanovski's earned the right to go up. I'm not really thinking that one of these guys can present a challenge to Volkanovski, but let's get a proper contender, number 1 contender fight.
Yeah.
Yair Rodriguez, Josh Emmett.
And by the way, if that fight happens, Emmett is taking Rodriguez down to the ground over and over again. He's going to have that ability. If Max Holloway's taking you down, Emmett, who is a collegiate wrestler, will be able to do that. The problem is, Emmett just loves to swing and bang.
He loves those hands, bro. He loves those hands. I don't know. I mean, yes, any game plan should involve taking Yair down because that man does have a diverse arsenal.
Let me throw out a Brian Ortega fight for you. Bryce Mitchell.
Ooh, battle of the kind of the no-gis, the jiu-jitsu specialists.
A lot of people would say, oh, maybe a Ryan Hall fight would be cool. I don't know. But maybe Movsar Evloev. That might be an interesting one as well. I think Ortega, for me, needs to go down the rankings a bit if he's not going to be rematching Rodriguez anytime soon. I mean, personally, I think if they're going to do this fight again, I would wait a while anyway. There's no rush here. You could do it again in Texas, California, where it should have been held, but hey-ho.
All right,
and
let's
then,
move.
By the way, Arnold Allen, who doesn't fight enough.
Well, he's the
Calvin
forgotten man now,
Kattar.
Joe. We've just written him out of the story again.
Give him the Kattar fight. Arnold Allen Kattar. If he beats Kattar, I think he's the number one contender then.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have Kattar being ranked lower than he is now. So I think the fact that he's still ahead of Allen, go and take that spot, man.
For sure. Right, let's go through the rest of this fight night card, and we got to start with this fight here: Matt Schnell versus Suma Dergie. Matt Schnell in round 2. By the way, who did you give round 1 to?
I believe I gave it to Suma Dergie. I just have to flick through the old notes there.
I gave it to Schnell.
Did you?
Yeah. It was with a question mark, but I gave it to Schnell.
Okay. Pretty even round anyway.
Yeah. Then you go into round 2, and Suma Dergie lights Matt Schnell up. Bro, he was grabbing his wrist, and throwing these elbows where Matt Schnell was like on pause. He was rocked after some of those. Yeah,
we should just mention what brought about that scenario where Matt Schnell was having to kind of get the forearms up to guard himself.
Yeah.
That's because he was getting lit up before that, Joe. Before those elbows came into place. That straight left from Suma Dergie.
Yes.
A lot of range on it, and that was finding a home. I think Schnell was in kind of panic mode, and as you say, that caused him to kind of block as defensive as possible, get your arms up inside, behind, saving the face. We all want to save the face. But then the problem was, Suma Dergie leans on that guard and slips those elbows around the slide. Brutal stuff. I thought Matt Schnell was done for, Joe.
Yeah, and the ref even said fight back, and then Matt Schnell fought back. Brother, let me tell you. He first off hit like a beautiful right-left combo, like hooking combo. Suma Dergie circles off, and then he throws this big old right hand, rocks Suma Dergie back to the fence. Suma Dergie's like, oh God, I gotta get this guy off me. Throws a right hand. Schnell slips underneath him, takes him down, mounts him, and then a flurry of shots, elbows, cuts open Suma Dergie. Daniel Cormier going crazy on the commentary. I'm going to cut that in right now for the listeners.
I love that piece of commentary, by the way, Joe.
It's incredible.
Oh, he's good move. This is when I want to start throwing stuff. Big elbows for Schnell. Suma Dergie now in trouble.
Then, Suma Dergie reverses him, takes away the mount, goes into Schnell's guard, and Schnell throws up a triangle, doesn't get it in fully, it was on the wrong side, so then he adjusts it, pulls in underneath his left arm, Suma Dergie's left arm with his right arm from underneath, to then create a sort of 90-degree angle on the triangle choke, pulls the head down as well, getting this sort of double pressure down, and
that's all she
Dergie
wrote.
goes to slow. Where would you rank this in the history of comebacks in the UFC?
I mean, it was incredible. It really was. It was so exciting. The funny thing is, we're about to get into another fight that had me very excited after this. I sent you a quick audio message on that without specifying exactly what I was watching because I didn't know where you were at with the card. And you came straight back to me like, I know, Schnell versus Mudeji. So Mudeji was incredible. And oh my Lord, I was off my feet. The thing that was so amazing about this is that right hand you mentioned from Schnell there, that was one of those right hands that just changed everything.
Yes.
The whole momentum, Suma Dergie's facial expressions, the way he was coming forward suddenly, he wasn't all there, and hell, did Schnell capitalize? It was amazing, Joe.
Yeah, it was one hell of a performance.
Go and watch it right now, listeners, if you haven't.
And then just the image, by the way, of the ref ending the fight, Suma Dergie rolls over onto his back asleep, and Schnell is there lying down and giving it the give me those 50 G's, baby. Like, it was like, oh my God, covered in Suma Dergie's blood all over his chest. It was, oh my word. And it was just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. It was quite hilarious as well. ESPN tweeted out pictures of the triangle choke locking him, and then Dergie asleep with Schnell doing the thing, and underneath were replies from people who do not watch MMA, who were just like, "What is this filth? This isn't a sport, whatever." And he's just like, "Let me tell you, brother. Not only is this a sport, this is the sport.
This is the peak right here. That's it." I mean, it was hard when Schnelly had the full mount.
Schnelly?
He's one of the boys now, Joe. I think he's
a big boy. By the way, a chinny boy, but my word, what a boy.
Yeah, he's there to be here. I think that we'll see more of that from Matt Schnell. I think he's got a hint of Cody Garbrandt to him as well. But anyway, I don't want to curse the boy. So, when you had that full mount and he was raining down those elbows, I mean, I've got to say, my father's there watching me watch that. I would have a hard time justifying what I'm seeing because it was a bit brutal there.
Yeah.
Because at that point, the fight had gone out of Sumidaji.
Yeah, no. I was making noises during that mount, similar to Cormier, I must say. I think even. My partner Kirsten ran into the room to see what was going on.
She's heard those noises before. All right, Joe.
Normally more crying involved. Anyway, let's just to hit on the comeback thing though. Where does this rank in terms of the greatest comebacks that we've seen? I mean, I think the number one is pretty clear. It's Anderson Silva over Chael Sonnen. Sonnen putting an absolute whooping on him, and it's in a title fight. 5th round triangle choke out of nowhere.
The context is key. Ultimately, great though this was, it was a fight night. It was, it wasn't the main event. Nobody's winning any belts here.
Flyweight, middle of the pack rankings.
I mean, Joe, you take a straw poll of people in the arena. Where does Sumidaji come from?
Yes.
Nobody knows. So
exactly.
I mean, that Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen, that throwing up that arm triangle from the bottom will live it in the memory for a long time. 5th round, as you say, having been wrestled to death by Chael before.
I still remember the feeling of watching that for the first time. It was just like, incredible.
The only other thing that comes off the top of my head is the man who fought in this main event. He was losing to Korean Zombie.
Oh. Good show.
Yeah, he was losing over 25 minutes. He was getting beaten on the feet, and there was about 5 seconds left, maybe less.
No, it was a second
on the bell.
It was a second.
So this is Yair Rodriguez beating Chan Sung Jung at featherweight. It was the main event, but it wasn't for a belt. With the craziest elbow, like unheard of, unseen elbow. I could tell you, Korean Zombie, he did not. Well, Joe. Nobody saw that elbow. Yeah. We were all trying to figure out what happened. I thought it was a terrorist had gone into the arena. So that's the only one that comes to mind.
I remember the feeling of that Zombie Rodriguez one as well. Of like, what just happened?
Shocking.
It was incredible. This is kind of a bit more. So Anderson Silva's Sonnen is the number one, and then you got like your second tier ones. I'm thinking that Rodriguez one, Czech Congo Pat Barry. Do you know what I mean? Where it's just like
that could never happen these days.
No.
We know about CTE now.
Yeah. I think it's more in that realm. More in that realm of but incredible nonetheless. Right. Let's talk about the fight that you mentioned in that voice note to me. Shane Burgos defeats Charles Jourdain by majority decision, 29-28 on 2 judges' scorecards, 28-28 on the third one. I'm presuming for a 10-8 in the third round for Jourdain, or are you going to tell me otherwise?
No, Joe. Yeah, that's the crazy thing about this fight. That's the crazy thing. So before we say what the judges scored it, how did you score it, Joe?
I scored it 2 rounds to 1 Jourdain, 10-9 for the 2 rounds he did win. Tempted by a 10-8 for the third round, but couldn't go that way.
Right. So that matches my commentary exactly. No, sorry. I remember I was watching this with my partner, and you do tend to be swayed by those around you. Now, of course, Burgos, he had that control in the first round, but Jourdain was landing the volume on the feet. He was doing a great job kind of kneeing up the center line of Burgos as Burgos was coming in, marching him down like the Terminator Shane Burgos is. But Burgos eventually, he was able to get the control, and they spent that kind of exchange where your man Jourdain, he was fighting off the rear naked choke. There was a lot of control time in that first of Burgos. That's why I gave it to him. I can see how you gave it to Jourdain, though. One of the judges, Joe, it's round 2, where Burgos got nothing off, but controlled him for 4 minutes from the back. That was the 10-8. Yeah, I'm serious, Joe.
Really?
That's how that fight played out. That's,
Hold on.
One
this
judge.
second round where Burgos landed 4 shots.
That's the one. That's a 10-8 for one of the judges, yeah.
4 out of 8 significant strikes, 28 strikes in general. What?
Crazy.
That is insane. And by the way, Jourdain in the 3rd round had more control time than Burgos in that round. He had like 1:30, didn't he, of control time?
So, well, I mean, Burgos, they held that back triangle, locked his legs in. Gassed completely.
Yes.
And Jourdain, he came out and just poured it on him. The standout event in this fight for me was Jourdain really announcing himself as the man to watch, because I thought he was great. And as I say, for me, I did give it to Burgos, but if you're going to give any 10-8s here, it's probably that 3rd round where Jourdain outlanded him. I don't know if you have the stats in front of you there, Joe.
I've got them here. Give me just 2 seconds. So Jourdain. So here are the strikes for each round here. Burgos in round 1, he landed 12 of 31. Jourdain landed 39 of 59. Round 2, Burgos landed 28 of 39. Jourdain 7 of 13. Round 3, Burgos landed 27 of 46. Jourdain 115 of 169 he landed, of which 84 was significant. Yeah.
Huge round for Jourdain. And could have been a 10-8. I had the same question here. Was it enough for a 10-8? And Burgos, credit to him for surviving, because that man was... he was in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, I got to say, a bit of a lackluster performance from Burgos, in my opinion. I'm not angry with him winning.
I mean, he was just outmatched on the feet. Jourdain really brought that volume. He looked so fast. I thought Burgos did pretty well, Joe, to come out with a win.
Yeah.
In the circumstances.
I think even he said as such afterwards.
Yeah,
and I think that's fair enough. Burgos moving on, though. What are we feeling like for him in the rankings? I mean, Jourdain, I still think Jourdain should get a ranked opponent in his next fight. I thought he was that good.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely one who's knocking on the door there. Let's see some easy marks at light. Oh no, we're at featherweight, of course. Yeah, it's hard to believe Burgos is a featherweight, Joe. That's
it's madness, isn't it? That back is incredible.
Yeah, that's not the back of the night. We'll get on to that later on, but huge back on.
What about, by the way, what about Jourdain versus Barbosa?
It sounds great. I want it.
Burgos versus Chikadze? Burgos versus Evloev?
Ooh.
One of those two?
Ooh, Chikadze versus Burgos. That's intriguing.
Yeah, it sounds good, doesn't it?
That sounds good. That sounds like, I mean, you can see that being the perfect bounce back fight for Chikadze as well. Yeah, I'm in, Joe.
Cool. Let's go through.
Well, I just want to. Jourdain, he was a standout here. He really announced himself to me. I just want to drop you a couple of quotes, because he was dropping a nice promo going into this fight with his French Canadian accent.
Yes.
Now,
you're not going to do the accent, are you?
Not anymore.
No.
All right. So, why does Charles Jourdain love this sport?
Oh, he loves hurting people?
Because of the violence. I thought that was a great quote. I love this hilarious sport because of the violence. I have 15 minutes to destroy you.
This guy owns.
Yep. More of that. Okay, let's move on, Joe.
All right, let's go through the rest of this main card, or at least the stuff that stood out. The Leech is back. After being humbled by Hamza, he's back to defeat Muslim Salikov. Really nice finish to this. Salikov, by the way, got tired very quickly after doing some of those spin kicks. The first few were just like, woof, my word, don't want to be near that. And then the last one, it was telegraphed quite a bit.
Yes.
Leech, though, lovely left jab to the body, followed up by beautiful combo to finish it. A right cross to then some strikes on the ground to finish him off. The Leech, by the way, I've got to read off this stat to you. This was incredible to show his work here. The Leech by target. Let me break down his targets. 34% of the head, 31% of the body, 34% of the leg. Beautiful breakdown there. He's throwing. Salikov's not sure where he's going to land because he distributed it nice and evenly, and subsequently then got the finish because of that work. Really well played by the leech.
Absolutely. Much was made of the Kung Fu King Salikov coming into this fight, and I believe Jack Slacky put up one of his patented
filthy casual guides to Salikov.
Tune into those guys. You find Jack Slack on podcast there. Really great breakdown, and he was highlighting the feinting work that Salikov would do to draw out the opponent so he could then land one of his strikes. Either the opponent comes in off that, attempting to counter the jab that Salikov never throws, and then Salikov can get some of his work off. Or, if the opponent doesn't bite down, that gives Salikov the chance to spin and unleash one of those kicks. Now, Leach was having none of that. He wasn't buying into that jab at all. And in the finish there, Joe, you can see Salikov kind of getting frustrated that he's not drawing the Leach out to be countered, throws the jab, which Leach then ducks under, slips the jab beautifully, and as you say, little dap to the stomach before a huge overhand. Good stuff from the Leach. He's upset another streak. Ponzinibbio was the big scalp. Salikov's another one. What do you do with the Leach now, Joe?
Jeff, Hands of Steel Neil, perhaps? That sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's in that kind of territory, isn't it? So
I don't want him to face like a Chiesa. So, keep him away from a wrestler. Let's see him. By the way, the Leech now, that's his 8th knockout TKO finish in the UFC.
Yeah,
second all-time finishing rate in the welterweight division, behind Matt Brown, who is way out with 12.
Well, he's also way out there in terms of fights, isn't he, Matt Brown?
Of course. Well, yeah, which is madness to think, though, as well, that Leach is, 4 behind him with half the number of fights.
Absolutely. He's always delivered. He's always been a good test, and a few people now, they've been caught out by those hands, Joe. He certainly hits hard.
I mean, I underestimated him when it came to the Ponzinibbio fight, because Ponzinibbio is a big boy for us. We love a bit of Pons. And, it proved us wrong.
Well, Joe, I picked Salikov, I picked Ponzinibbio, and Leach has upset the apple cart. So, yeah, someone like Jeff Neal or perhaps Michel Pereira,
Anyway, let's move on. Tom, let's talk about something that you're very passionate about. Ricky Simone's back. Let's talk about this beautiful muscle dwarf of a man.
I mean, Joe, we've already waxed lyrical on this card, but truly the main event for me here was that man and his back. And he put it to tremendous use in defeating Jack Shaw. Jack Shaw, a very developed striker, hot prospect, undefeated in the UFC, and then he runs into the cube, the square. Truly a sight to behold. I've commented on it before. It was a little bit diminished for me here because Ricky Simone, he's changed his hairstyle. I missed that mohawk. You pair that mohawk with a back, and I'm thinking settlers arrive in America, and blood and carnage,
bro.
And
Ricky Simone. I thought the first round itself, I thought was very close. In fact, I leaned towards Jack Shaw winning that round due to the takedown defense and then. Work on the feet, I thought was a lot better than Simone. But Simone, bro, that 1-2 is so heavy. He absolutely hammered Jack Shaw every time he threw that. And fair play to Shaw for taking it. But then when he wasn't able to take it anymore, it ended quite quickly. Simone here knocks Shaw down. Oh, do you want to walk through the ending of this fight for me?
Yeah, Joe, you have it there. That's right. So eventually that forward pressure from Ricky Simone started to tell, and coming out in the second round, Shaw was trying to mount a bit more forward offense of his own to try to get Simone off him, but unfortunately those shots, they started getting through. Simone was rock Shaw, ended up in the full mount, and then Shaw trying to get out from the bottom, he gave up a bit of a choke opportunity, and Ricky Simone capitalised.
Yeah, it was a sort of straight right hand, wasn't it? They ended up hitting on him, but when he landed it, he didn't have the full extension of the arm. It was like a 90-degree angle, so he was able to sort of punch through. He didn't catch him at the end of the shot. It was sort of midway through the shot he landed on him. and then he sort of, that head and arm choke, he really muscled that in, like really forced that onto Shaw. Jack Shaw, by the way, in the lead up to the fight, said that he wasn't that bothered about maintaining a perfect record in MMA because obviously those things are nearly impossible to have. I mean, John Jones does have a perfect record in the cage, really. Khabib has one, and that's about it, really. It's a part of this game, particularly for a fighter who is as young as Shaw, who will come back into the rankings or move up the rankings again at a later date. But Ricky Simone, he called for the O'Malley fight. Are you having that?
I think he's earned the right to call out what he wants now, Ricky Simone. I think that's where he's at. I mean, this man is now riding, since the upset, pretty big upset against Uriah Faber, where the shortcomings of having such a huge back and being so squat really came to light, in that he was just right on the centre line and there to be hit. Faber exploited that. Since then, Simone's been crushing people, crushing fools. And Jack Shaw is a major scalp. People were talking about this guy going up to fight at the top. So Simone now, that's Jack Shaw knocking out a Sun Tzu, beating Brian Kelleher. Before that, it was Gaetano Pirello. So he's got to be, following also on from a win against Ray Borg before he was unfortunately cut from the UFC. He's got to be looking up the division. So right now we have Sean O'Malley at 30th. Ricky Simone, he's gone up to 11 off the back of this fight.
Yeah, good, correct. We said this in the preview episode. Whoever wins this must go above O'Malley.
100%. That's it, Joe. So good to see Dana's still tuning in. I was wondering where those downloads came from for our last episode. Obviously, the whole team's getting involved now. I mean, Ricky Simone's got to look at the top 10, hasn't he, Joe? Yeah.
Ricky Simone has to be moving up there. But I feel like for him, a win over O'Malley would probably be more significant. I mean, if we're thinking logically, he should face the winner maybe, or the loser of Vera versus Cruz, potentially. Maybe a Pedro Munoz? What do you think?
You have to remember, Ricky Simone's got a win over Merab Devashvili.
Does he? Oh, he does. He does. Oh,
yes.
man.
And when you think about that, you kind of start to look at those losses to Rob Font and Uriah Faber as blips. I'll tell you what, Joe, why don't we give him the chance to get that one back over Rob Font?
Good shout. Good shout. I like that. I like that a lot. I think, how old is Simone as well? He's in his 20s, isn't he? Like, this is a young guy.
I mean, his back is as old as time. The rest of his body's just 29.
Ooh, he's getting into his peak, getting up there into sort of peak age.
I mean, Joe, I think he's red hot right now.
Yeah.
The thing is, who isn't red hot in bantamweight? My God. It just doesn't stop. That division does not quit.
I love it.
One last thing, Dana, put these guys on the main card.
Yes. How is this not the co-main?
It's just nuts.
Yeah.
You might have noticed we didn't actually talk about the co-main event yet, Joe.
Well, we'll get to that in a bit.
We're wading down here in the prelims because we want to give the guys the good shit, and this was some of the best shit.
Yeah. We'll get to that bad shit in a moment, but let's talk about the good shit. Let's continue the good shit. Bill Algeo versus Herbert Burns. Algeo winning by knackering out Burns, who apparently he was clearly injured going into the fight afterwards, when his brother Gilbert Burns was having to carry him out the cage like it was his wedding night. It was, what a performance from Algeo. Am I wrong in thinking that this was like, a bit of a standout performance here, despite Burns completely folding?
Algeo is bubbling away. The thing is, the story of the fight, it is Herbert Burns. I think all the questions that come from this fight are really related to him. It's unfortunate for Bill Algeo to get a win like that and us not talk about him. But do you remember Herbert Burns' last fight against Daniel Pineda?
Is that the one where Pineda was he a flyweight coming up? Or bantamweight coming up to face him at featherweight, and then Pineda didn't he sub him? Or was it ground and pound?
Yeah, it was a. I'm just looking now at Pineda. What he did after that fight.
Not a lot.
It was a TKO from elbows in the second round. But what really happens there?
Yes, I remember this.
But Burns missed weight for the second fight in a row going into that one, and wilted big time. big time, gassed and wilted. And that's exactly what we saw again. I don't think this man's long for the sport, Joe.
No.
Off the back of that performance, when you put it in the context of missing weight twice and the way in which he lost to Daniel Pineda, if this was a one-off against Bill Algeo, you'd feel really sorry for him. I do feel sorry for him, and I feel sorry for him because he shouldn't really be in there.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there's a lot. A part of this is the fact that Gilbert Burns, who is obviously such a tremendous fighter, has said that my brother was the better jiu-jitsu fighter. He was the better guy at jiu-jitsu. And it's clear that he's got skills, but he's got no cardio. He's got no cardio to him. And clearly, I don't think he's got the mental side for it either.
He's not Gilbert Burns.
Yeah.
He does have the resume. He's won gold medals in jiu-jitsu in the no-gi championships around the Americas. It's just not really there for him in the UFC. And, you know, to me, I was having major question marks about him going out for the second round. Now, look, Gilbert Burns, he told him to get out there, man up, toughen up, go and get it. How much do you want this, all of that? And it just meant that poor Herbert went and took even more punishment until it was mercifully called off.
Yeah, correct me.
I found that strange, Joe.
Yeah. It was an odd one, wasn't it? It was an odd finish. It was clear as well that he just didn't want to go back out there when the referee was like, "Are you okay?"
He was done, Joe. He was so done.
Yeah,
he was so done. Like it was one of those where, like, I started off thinking like, this dude's a bum. You know, he doesn't want it. Doesn't deserve to be there. And I was angry at Herbert Burns, and it turned into me being quite sympathetic. Like, that poor man shouldn't be fighting out there. This is not right.
No.
Yeah.
No. Fair enough.
So good for Bill Algeo, but I think Herbert Burns' retirement is the story.
For sure. Right, Puna Soriano defeats Lungiambula. I'm sure I've got that right this time. What a finish! By the way, hilarious, Lungiambula's corner saying, like, do not wrestle. Get up right now. You cannot do this for more than 2 minutes. Get up right now. And he's just like, oh yeah, I shouldn't be wrestling because I'm too muscular.
Yeah, the only competition for Ricky Simone in the big back stakes on the card. Lungiambula, he gets the billing. He was the main event on the prelims because of his build, which is it's something to behold. It's incredible. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, he was having a good fight, Joe. He was he was fighting within himself. His power was there to be seen. He was hurting Soriano. He was keeping the pace. He wasn't gassing. And then ba-boom.
Yeah, Soriano feints a big right, throws the left, knocks him down, and then just pounds him out. Lovely stuff. I like a bit of Puna Soriano. I think he's a good fighter. I enjoy watching him.
A lot of fun, good energy. I hope to see more of him. I'm a bit bummed that I was rooting for
Lungiambula.
Yeah. He has to pick up some wins, Joe. We want to see him fight, but you have to win sometimes.
Yeah, you don't have to win all the time.
No.
You can win 2, you can lose 1. That's not a big deal.
Like this was he won the first round for me. I
had Lungiambula winning the first.
And he was looking great all the way up until that huge shot came through and folded him. Yeah. And then brutal ground and pound to finish it off. There was no doubt after that big shot that Puna landed on the mat. So
should we talk about the finish of Dustin Jacoby versus Da Un Jung? Bit weird at first, I thought, and then on the replay, it was one of those where, Jung does the praise the Lord and gets one more, and the ref steps in, and the eyes were rolling back. It's just that he stood up straight after.
So fast, Joe. He was up. He bounced straight back to his feet, and he was ready to go.
Yeah, I'm not so mad at that KO. You don't need to see everyone get pounded out, do you? Particularly on a prelim fight, for fuck's sake. Like,
no, but it is awkward when the guy stands up immediately. It was so fast that I was like,
yeah, it was borderline.
Especially, like it's not like this man has a track record of getting punished or of like the ship sinking and gaps not being plugged. I think, like Da Un Jung's record coming in here is pretty strong. He's looking at those rankings and he's young and he's got momentum. He is, however, Korean.
Yes.
not American.
Yeah.
And I think there'd be a little bit more protest if it was a homegrown fight.
Fair enough. Yeah, right. Fair enough. Right. Let's talk about the two women's fights on this card, because I actually do think they're important for what they represent, which is that shit that worked in 2013-14 does not fucking fly now. Lauren Murphy defeats Miesha Tate by unanimous decision, and it was unanimous. And then Michelle Waterson gets subbed out by Amanda Lemos with a guillotine choke. I mean, Tate and Waterson were not in these fights at all, really. Tate looked awful, I thought. No head movement, janky fucking striking, just no good in my opinion. And
it was in slow motion.
Both of these were retirement performances in my opinion. Like really are retirement performances. It felt like Tate felt like a throwback, and it's not like a throwback in the way that, like, okay, there are guys on the roster who are throwbacks. We're talking about like Robbie Lawler, Matt Brown. But they do somewhat move with the times. They do accept their positions in the rankings. Yeah, they're not fucking fighting, Sean Brady or Bilal Muhammad in the welterweight rankings. Nor should they be. They should be fighting unranked guys or guys who are in similar positions to them. Tate is just, she's retired before and she should have stayed retired. I don't know why she came back, what she hoped to prove. There's nothing to prove for her.
No, this is one that she's surely going to regret. You're fighting, you're not on a main event. You're not in a big card. It's not a huge stakes matchup. You get dusted off by 38-year-old Lauren Murphy. At flyweight, you're not able to impose any strength.
And by the way,
to land.
Getting bullied by Lauren Murphy as well. Murphy was absolutely in control the whole fight, I thought.
Well, like, the only moments that Tate had was kind of pressing her against the cage and, just when she could neutralise the striking of Murphy just for those brief moments. Tate, she wasn't able to get anything off, but at least she wasn't getting battered.
Yeah. There was no head movement either. She was just on a straight line the whole time. It was terrible.
This is women's MMA. You don't want to see head movement, do you?
Well, if you're Edmund Tarverdian, if that happens,
head movement.
No. All right. Anyway, Tom, hit me with a bit of trivia. What have you got for me?
Well, Joe, we are coming back for UFC London. We'll be back here on Thursday to break that card down.
I'm putting my belt on the line, brother.
Big respect to Joe. There's no obligation to do that. You are the champ. You can sit and wait out till a numbered event. But we think UFC London is just so good, we have to come back and talk about it in detail. We also thought maybe this pod would be a bit of a shorter one. But then the subject of Ricky Simone's back came up. And here we are.
We almost had a meltdown over it. That's how good that back is. Anyway, Tom.
Well, not major trivia for you here, Joe. It's just a few developments that we did have on this card, going along with the announcement. Well, we'll get into the announcement of the belt to come up in lightweight later on in Abu Dhabi. But going along with that, the Fighter of the Year was announced according to ESPN. They gave it to Charles Oliveira, beating off competition from Volkanovski and Usman, and also Kayla Harrison. Yeah. What do you think, Joe?
What, of Kayla Harrison being nominated or Oliveira winning?
Oliveira winning.
Oliveira, yeah, that's fine by me. I think Oliveira is the most exciting fighter in the UFC. He has the most exciting. Think about his last 3 fights. The Chandler fight was insane. Absolutely insane. The Poirier fight was not going his way until it then went his way, and it was like an avalanche. And that happens against a guy who is the avalanche against everyone else. And then the Gaethje fight is one of the best one-round fights you will ever see. Charles Oliveira has turned his career around to become the man in the UFC for me. This is, if it's like you can watch any fighter, right now, who is it going to be? It'd be Charles Oliveira. That is just it for me. He is number one, most exciting guy in the UFC. And also his story is just incredible. Love him.
Number one most exciting guy in the UFC?
For me, yes. If it's like, whose fight are you going to be most excited for when it comes to like a title fight or whatever? Usman, Oliveira, Volkanovski, Aljamain Sterling, Israel Adesanya. What's that?
Ngannou.
Oh, Ngannou.
Ngannou, John Jones. Ngannou, Stipe.
Oof.
I mean, there is a certain something.
Yeah, the thing is, I always think this about heavyweight. Doesn't matter what it is. Oh, I just remembered something as well. I want to circle back around to. But a heavyweight title fight, there's always just this air, isn't there? There's this air of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I just remembered one, thinking, going back to the comeback thing, one of the greatest comebacks, if not the best comeback, Lesnar-Carwin. Do you remember the energy before that fight?
Yeah.
Of like, oh my God, I'm about to watch two
Goliaths.
two gorillas going absolutely after it.
Yeah.
Man. And a great comeback, because Lesnar took a beating for about 5 minutes and still somehow won.
I mean, Shane Carwin had some power, Joe.
Bro.
My God.
I love him.
Shame he didn't stay in the UFC a bit more.
Well, that JDS fight would probably put anyone off, wouldn't it? Anyway, Oliveira has now been booked against Islam Makhachev for the lightweight title, the vacant lightweight title. Although saying that, UFC seem to be still treating Oliveira like the champ. He will be getting pay-per-view points for this fight. This is the fight to make?
I mean, the case for Makhachev seems to build and build and build, even without fighting. I think it was, we said we want the Darius fight.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, that didn't happen, and now he's by default kind of fallen into fighting for the belt. I can't hate it. The man's on, what is it, a 10-fight streak now?
Yeah, but it's based... his last win was a catchweight fight against Bobby Green.
Yeah.
It's not... Come on. And
No,
the one before that was Hooker?
Yeah, what's his biggest win?
Hooker.
Oof.
No offense to Bobby Green, he was coming off a nice run. He had this sort of inspirational moment. People bought into him, but come on. Anyway, should we talk about the other lightweight fight that might be being booked for later this year?
Well, just on that. Well, no, just on that. I mean, Volkanovski did come out and say that he wants the winner of that Oliveira Makhachev fight. So that does all seem kind of set now. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I don't think there's a clear contender at lightweight for Oliveira, so I'm happy for it to be Makhachev, and then the winner of Makhachev Oliveira to face Volkanovski is fine by me. But let's talk about the other lightweight fight that's been potentially booked. Beneil Dariush was someone I wanted to talk about on this pod. Anyway, because he had this weird place of like not being a top contender but not on the come up. He's got his fight potentially against Dustin Poirier. Wow, big fight for your man Beneil. I'm surprised that Poirier wants that. Yeah, I'm surprised as well. A wrestle heavy dude, guy who can take shots, guy who can like absolutely uncork. He loves to swang, Joe. He loves swanging and banging. That's why we like a bit of Dariush on this pod. Well, this then opens up Gaethje now. Gaethje can face Fiziev or Gamrot. Oof. And there is no... I'm sorry, I'm not having anyone else. I am not having anyone else. If Gaethje does not fight Gamrot or Fiziev, I'm not... Even if it's McGregor, I'm not going to be happy about it. Right. That still leaves one man there looking for a matchup. What do we do with Michael Chandler? He just won the... Okay. No, okay. Great. I mean, he claimed also in the ESPN... mid-year award for the best knockout so far. Yeah, weird non-award that, isn't it? Like, still got another 6 months to go. Right. And also, we don't like talking about that knockout on this podcast for obvious reasons. Right, last bit of news that I want to just bring up. Frankie Edgar has announced that he intends to have his last fight at UFC 281 at Madison Square Garden. And he has said it will take place at bantamweight, and he will face whoever the UFC puts in front of him. To which I say, Tom, are we going to be welcoming in the Sugar Show? Sean O'Malley versus Frankie Edgar, is that what the UFC is going to book? That sounds very Dana White, very UFC, doesn't it? You don't think they're going to give him the respectful send-off? Oh, by the way, another great comeback was Frankie versus Gray Maynard in the third one, wasn't it? Anyway, you don't think they're going to give him... I don't think the UFC gives many respectful send-offs, but Frankie's been a true servant of the UFC and of the sport itself. What else would they do, Joe? I don't see them giving somebody with a smaller profile that kind of slot. Madison Square Garden in Frankie Edgar's retirement fight. Dominic Cruz was the other one I was thinking of, but he's got the Vera fight. Yeah, this is a big moment. This could be a big point for Henry Cejudo coming back.
I don't think he'd come back for Edgar, would he?
He just needs one fight to remind everybody.
Oof. I'm not against it, though, now that you said it.
Right, Joe, let's wrap it up there. We're going to be back on Thursday.
Yes, we will. I will be back. We will be back. I will be defending my title over UFC London. So we'll be back on Thursday to preview that, and then we'll be back probably the following Tuesday to break down what happened on that card. I can't wait. That card is mega stacked, and we will be diving in head first into that card. Tom Ballum, I've got to say this. Thank you for joining me, and thank you, listeners, for joining us. Tom, any parting words?
Get ready to lose your belt on Thursday, Joe.
Not a fucking chance. Listeners,
Bye-bye.
See you Thursday. Bye-bye.